There's a voice inside your head right now. It's been there your entire life. It narrates your day, judges your choices, replays your mistakes, and rehearses conversations that may never happen. It tells you who you are, what you should fear, and what you're not good enough to do. It never stops. It never rests. And for most of your life, you've probably believed that voice is you. But what if it isn't? What if that constant stream of commentary, that inner narrator, is not your true self at all, but simply a pattern, a habit, a collection of echoes from the past? What if you are not the voice, but the one listening to it? This is one of the most profound realizations a person can have. And today, we're going to explore it together, gently, thoughtfully, and without rushing. Because understanding this changes everything. If you enjoy reflecting on ideas like this, ideas that help you see yourself and your mind more clearly, consider subscribing. We explore the nature of thought, the art of inner peace, and the philosophy of living well every week. This is a space for curious minds and quiet seekers. You're welcome here. Let's start with a simple question. How many thoughts do you think you have in a day? Studies suggest the average person experiences somewhere between 12,000 and 60,000 thoughts every single day. That's thousands of mental events, images, words, judgments, memories, predictions, all flickering through your consciousness like a never-ending film reel. And here's the unsettling part. Research shows that about 80% of those thoughts are negative and 95% are repetitive. The same worries, the same doubts, the same stories told over and over again. So if you've ever felt like your mind is stuck on a loop, you're not imagining it. It is. But here's the deeper question. If these thoughts are so repetitive, so automatic, so often untrue, then why do we believe them so completely? Why do we let them define us? The answer lies in something psychologists call cognitive fusion. It's the process by which we become fused with our thoughts, so entangled with them that we can't tell the difference between thinking and being. When a thought says, "I'm not good enough," we don't hear it as just a thought. We hear it as a fact, as truth, as identity. But the Stoics understood something different. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and philosopher, once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." He wasn't talking about controlling your thoughts. He was talking about recognizing that you are not your thoughts, that there is a part of you, a deeper, quieter part, that can observe the mind without being swept away by it. Epictetus, another Stoic philosopher, put it even more directly. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Notice the word react, not the thought itself, but your relationship to it. That's where your freedom lives. So where does this inner voice come from? It starts early. From the moment you're born, your brain begins collecting data about the world, about people, about yourself, your parents' words, your teacher's judgments, your peers' reactions. Every experience leaves a trace, and over time, those traces form patterns. Patterns become beliefs. Beliefs become the voice. By the time you're an adult, that voice is a patchwork of conditioning. It's your mother's worry, your father's criticism, your culture's expectations, your own past failures, stitched together into a narrative that feels like you, but isn't. The Buddhist tradition has a word for this, anatta, or non-self. It's the teaching that what we call the self is not a solid, unchanging thing, but a process, a flow of thoughts, sensations, and perceptions that we mistakenly cling to as me. The Buddha taught that suffering arises when we identify with this flow, when we believe the thoughts, when we think we are the voice. But when we learn to observe the flow without clinging to it, something shifts. We begin to see thoughts as events in the mind, not truths about reality. we begin to experience a kind of spaciousness, a quiet awareness that exists beneath the noise. Have you ever caught yourself arguing with your own thoughts? Maybe you're lying in bed, replaying something you said earlier, wishing you'd said it differently. Or you're imagining a future conversation, rehearsing your defense against an accusation that hasn't even been made. And suddenly, you realize you're having a full debate with yourself. Who's talking and who's listening? This is the strange paradox of the inner voice. It feels like you, but it also feels like something you're observing. And that's because it is both and neither. In cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, therapists teach clients to identify cognitive distortions, patterns of thinking that are irrational, exaggerated, or unhelpful. Things like catastrophizing, black and white thinking, or mind reading. The goal isn't to stop thinking, it's to recognize when a thought is distorted and to gently challenge it. For example, if your mind says, "I always mess everything up," CBT invites you to ask, is that really true? Always? Everything? Or is this just a thought, a harsh, exaggerated thought that I'm choosing to believe? This practice is deeply Stoic. It's what Marcus Aurelius meant when he wrote, "The things you think about determine the quality of your mind. Your soul takes on the color of your thoughts. You are not your thoughts, but you are responsible for which thoughts you give your attention to." Let me share something that might surprise you. Neuroscientists have discovered that the brain doesn't actually distinguish between a thought and reality. At least, not at first. When you imagine biting into a lemon, your mouth begins to water. When you replay an embarrassing memory, your body responds with the same stress hormones it released during the original event. Your brain treats the thought as if it's happening now. This is why rumination, the act of obsessively replaying negative thoughts, can be so damaging. You're not just remembering pain, you're re-experiencing it over and over as if it's new. But here's the empowering part. If your brain can be tricked by a thought, it can also be freed by awareness. When you notice a thought, when you name it, that's anxiety, that's self-doubt, that's just my inner critic. You create distance. You step out of the stream and onto the shore. You become the observer, and the observer is always calm, always still, always free. The ancient Taoists had a beautiful metaphor for this. They said the mind is like water. When it's turbulent, you can't see through it. But when it's still, it becomes clear, a perfect mirror of reality. Your thoughts are the turbulence. Your awareness is the stillness. And you are not the waves. You are the water. Do you ever wonder who you'd be without that voice? Without the constant commentary, the judgments, the fears? What would remain? Some people find this question terrifying. Because if I'm not my thoughts, then who am I? But others find it liberating. Because if I'm not my thoughts, then I'm not my mistakes. I'm not my past. I'm not the worst thing I've ever done, or the cruelest thing I've ever thought. I am the awareness that witnesses all of it and remains untouched. The 13th century Persian poet Rumi wrote, "You are not a drop in the ocean. You are the entire ocean in a drop." What he meant was this: your true nature is not small, not limited, not defined by the contents of your mind. Your true nature is vast, open, infinite. It is the space in which all thoughts arise and pass away. You are not the guest. You are the house. Let's talk about what this looks like in practice. Imagine you're sitting quietly and a thought arises. I'm not doing enough. I'm falling behind. The old way of relating to this thought is to believe it, to let it spiral into anxiety, guilt, and frantic action. But the new way, the way of the observer, is to simply notice it. There's a thought about not doing enough. You don't argue with it. You don't suppress it. You don't judge yourself for having it. You just see it, like a cloud passing through the sky, and then naturally it passes. This is mindfulness. This is Stoicism. This is cognitive diffusion. It's all the same truth expressed in different languages. You are not your thoughts, you are the awareness of them. And awareness is always free. Here's another insight from modern psychology. Thoughts are not facts, they're interpretations. Your mind is constantly trying to make sense of the world, to predict danger, to protect you. But in doing so, it often gets things wrong. It tells you people are judging you when they're not. It tells you you're in danger when you're safe. It tells you you're not enough when you are. The mind is not a truth teller, it's a storyteller. And you get to decide which stories you believe. Marcus Aurelius also wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment." Read that again. You have the power to revoke your estimate, to change your interpretation, to see the thought for what it is, just a thought. This doesn't mean you ignore real problems. It means you stop letting your mind turn every problem into a catastrophe. It means you stop letting the voice run your life. There's a famous Zen story about a monk who asks his teacher, "What is the way?" The teacher replies, "Your ordinary mind is the way." The monk is confused. "Then should I try to direct myself toward it?" The teacher says, "If you try to direct yourself, you move away from it." The point is this: you don't need to become someone else. You don't need to fix yourself or silence the voice forever. You just need to stop identifying with it. Your ordinary mind, the one that notices, that breathes, that simply is, that's already free. If this reflection has brought you a sense of peace, or even just a moment of clarity, feel free to subscribe. This space is made for minds like yours. Minds that question, that seek, that want to live more consciously. You'll find more reflections like this here every week. So let's bring this home. You are not your thoughts. You are not the voice that narrates your life, criticizes your choices, or predicts your failures. You are not the anxiety, the doubt, the fear, or the guilt. You are the awareness that holds all of it. You are the stillness beneath the noise, the sky behind the clouds, the silence between the words. And that awareness, that presence, is unshakable. It cannot be damaged by a thought. It cannot be diminished by a mistake. It is always here, always whole, always enough. The Stoics called it the inner citadel, a place within you that no external force can touch. The Buddhists called it Buddha nature, the pure, awake awareness that is your true self. Modern psychology calls it metacognition, the ability to think about your thinking. But whatever you call it, it's the same truth. You are not the content of your mind. You are the space in which that content appears. And when you realize this, really realize it, everything changes. You stop taking every thought so seriously. You stop believing every fear. You stop letting the voice tell you who you are. Instead, you rest in the quiet, knowing that you are so much more than the noise. So here's my invitation to you as we close. The next time a harsh thought arises, "I'm not good enough. I always fail. No one understands me." Don't fight it. Don't believe it. Just notice it. Say to yourself, quietly, "That's a thought." And then return to your breath. Return to the present moment. Return to the awareness that is always here, always calm, always free. Because that awareness is you, the real you. The you that was here before the voice began and will remain long after it fades. You are not your thoughts. You are the one who notices them. And that changes everything. Thank you for being here. Thank you for reflecting with me. And remember, you are not alone in this. We're all learning to see through the illusion, together. Until next time, be gentle with yourself, be present, and be free.